Hey guys, this is Nick from forex4noobs.com with some daily analysis. It is Tuesday the 19th of January 2016 and it is about 2:30 p.m. here in the UK. You're looking at a GBPUSD. I'm going to switch to EURUSD. You're looking at a EURUSD daily chart, and I'm going to be going through this chart and all the other charts on this list, looking at each and every time frame for all of these pairs. So each and every time frame for all of these pairs. This is something that I call my daily process. I go through this, well, more than once a day. I go through it several times per day, depending on how much time I have in the day. And it allows me to scan price action on pretty much every time frame for every pair I trade. And it means that I very rarely miss a trade I want to take. Because I'm doing this several times a day and I'm doing it systematically, I tend not to miss any trades. If I want to take a trade, I'll most likely spot it. So I'm going to take you through this process. We're going to look for some price action setups today. We might spot some, we might not spot some. It really depends. You're not going to get trades every day. Sometimes you don't get trades. Sometimes you get 10 trades in a day. It just depends. This is my first analysis of the year, and it is the 19th of January. I was supposed to start posting this analysis again last week on the 11th of January. And I wish I had a better excuse for you guys other than I was just lazy and I wanted to extend my break holiday from Forex for Noobs for another week. I wish I had a better excuse, but I don't. I was just a bit lazy. I'm sorry. I just was enjoying my holiday, was enjoying my time away from Forex trading. Like, you know, everyone enjoys time away from work. And I just got a bit lazy. But I am back now. I'm back to trading. And technically, I did start trading last week. I just wasn't very active on Forex for Noobs, posting analysis or updating my blog. But now I'm back and I'm going to be posting this almost every day of the week, probably Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. So let's get started. Okay, EURUSD, we're going to start with the daily chart. We're going to work our way down. One thing I forgot to mention is you're going to see a lot of weird time frames up here. So I have a lot of odd time frames that most people don't have, like the 5 hour, 7 hour, 9 hour, 10, 11, 12. Well, actually, no, not the 12. 12 one is kind of common these days and it's one I use. But these other ones, the 11, 10, 9, 7, 5, these are time frames I don't actually trade. I just like having these time frames because it gives me a different view of price action. So when I go through these time frames, it gives me a better view of what price is doing because I'm splitting candles up into different time frames. So that's the only reason they're there. They're not actually traded by me. Anyway, let's go with EURUSD. Let's start off. Right now, EURUSD seems to have gapped up a little bit at the start of the week, and now it's dropping down. Not quite on top of a support resistance area. So let's just pop down and see what it looks like on the lower time frames. It's very important whenever you're analyzing your charts that you look at each and every time frame, because each time frame is going to tell you something different about what price is doing. Just because it doesn't look like it's doing anything on the daily, that might not be true on the 4 hour. On the 4 hour, you might see an amazing trade setup. So it's important that you go down every time frame. In this case, it's pretty much doing nothing across all the time frames, but it definitely can be a case where, you know, there's an awesome setup on the 4 hour, but on the 8 hour, you can't see that setup. On the 12 hour, you can't see that setup. That has happened before, and it happens pretty much every week. All right, GBPUSD, let's start up at the daily and see what it looks like. It's in a massive downtrend. That's the first obvious sign. It's just broken the lower support area. The bad thing about GBPUSD is the further it drops, the harder it gets to place good support resistance. So we have to go back to 2008 to place our support resistance areas, or maybe it was 2010. I can't remember. I need to go to the daily. There we go. Yeah, 2010. And that's pretty much the extreme of the support resistance down here in 2010. So we actually have to go back to 2009 to place support resistance. And placing support resistance on such old data is a bit tricky, and, you know, you just have to really go with your best guess and then monitor it as price moves through that area. But yeah, there's nothing really much happening on GBPUSD across all the time frames. It's just breaking below the lower support we have, so it's still heading down, and it looks like this is a strong move down. All right, let's check out AUDUSD. All right, on the daily, it seems to have had a bounce from this support area. On the 12-hour, yeah, bounces, gaps. Still nothing much happening. I mean, yeah, it had a bounce from there, but that's not much use to us because it's already bounced. All right, so what's happening now with AUDUSD? It's hit this upper resistance area, and it seems that sellers have taken control of price and are pushing price down. Now, this looks sort of like an ideal trade setup, but it really isn't. The risk-reward ratio here would be horrible because I'd want to place my stop above this this support area here, this resistance area. Sorry, I'd want to place my stop above this area. So I'd need a stop loss all the way up here, somewhere like there. My entry would have to be somewhere down here. So my risk to reward ratio would just be horrible because my target would be here. So I'd be doing 1-to-1, probably worse than 1-to-1 risk reward ratio. So this trade's just not viable. What would have been ideal with this AUDUSD move would be if this candle here formed up here somewhere. So if it formed up here, then it'd have a lot more room to move down to this support area, giving us a larger target, and to get our stop above the resistance area up here, it'd be a much shorter stop. So the stop would be short, the target would be, you know, a little bit larger. That might make it more viable, but as it formed here, it's not really a viable trade. Looks like price is heading down, but there's nothing we can really trade here. So let's go to USDCAD. Now, USDCAD on the 3 hour is having a reversal, but let's go up to the daily and work our way down. So what's USDCAD doing? 12 hour bouncing from support. Oh, look at the 8 hour. There's actually a trade setup forming here. This could actually be entered. It's not a great looking trade setup. Let's just drop down to the 6 hour, see what it looks like on there. No. My problem with this is it has a very weak preceding trend. So because the trend started here, right, then price could find resistance here. So price came up to here, it bounced away. Now it might come back up to here and bounce away again. So this area here is somewhat worrying. It provided resistance recently, it might provide resistance again. So if I were to enter this trade, let's say on the 8 hour chart, if I were to enter this trade long here, it could very well turn around here. My stop loss would need to be down here. So again, it's a risk reward ratio issue. And even if it didn't find issues here, the next area is here. Still not great risk to reward ratio. Just visually, it doesn't look great. Let's check what it is more specifically. So we're looking for a stop around about there. First target around about here. It's 1.1, 1.2 risk reward. So it's not really that worth it. But the main problem, like I said, is that it might find some resistance here, and that would be 0.55 risk reward. So yeah, this is really not worth it. Also, these USDCAD support resistance areas, I'm not too sure about. They're placed based on very old data. I'm talking, wait, let me go to daily and scroll back. What I did with these support resistance areas, right, is I went back to 2003 to place them. So they're placed based on data that's 13 years old, which means that they're extremely unreliable. But it was the only choice I had. I couldn't get any fresh data because price hasn't been here since 2003. So I've placed these support resistance areas based on data even as far back as 1999. It's a long time. So what I want to see from these support resistance areas is I want to see some confirmation that they're actually active. I wouldn't be surprised if price just goes straight through these support resistance areas and they're not still good, because they're 13 years old. They're probably not still good. They're probably useless for support resistance areas. But when it's the only data I have, I'm going to place those support resistance areas and I'm going to monitor price. If price were to, let's say, bounce off here, come up here, bounce from there, bounce off here again, come up to here, bounce from there, bounce from here, come up to there, then we start to see signs that these support resistance areas are actually still valid, because we're getting multiple bounces from them. Price is reacting at these areas. But if price were instead to, which it will probably more likely do, break through that and bounce from here in between them, and then bounce from there, and then come up to here and bounce from here, and do all kinds of stuff that it's clear that these support resistance areas are meaningless, then obviously I'll just remove these support resistance areas and redraw them. So these support resistance areas up here beyond the 144.70, they're not really that great. They're just kind of placed based on very old data, just to see if they're going to work. And if they're not going to work, they're going to need readjusting. So I'm going to be very apprehensive about taking any trades up in this area. So anywhere beyond here, I don't have very strong support resistance. I'm going to be very wary about taking trades through here. So yeah, USDCAD right now, based on what I'm seeing, based on that, it's a no-go. I'm not gonna trade that. All right, so New Zealand USD, let's drop down the time frames. Let's see what we see. Nothing much so far. Yeah, it might be possibly bouncing from here, but nah, it's just not a good setup. Let's check out GBPJPY. Again, we're getting indecision on an area of resistance, but it's just not a good setup. The preceding trend is way too weak. Nah, nothing worth trading here. EuroJPY, yeah, nothing going to be worth trading here either. Looks like a pretty slow start to the week. USDJPY, let's see what's happening here. Yeah, this is nothing's going on here. Oh well, let's check out USDCHF real quick, but there's probably nothing happening on this pair. Yeah, nothing really happening here. And all these other pairs, it's not stuff I really trade. They're just open because people from the advanced course asked me for advice on some of those pairs. So yeah, these are my main pairs, and there's nothing really going on today to start off the day. But, you know, that's not that important. I mean, I'm going to be checking in on all these pairs several times today. And as the day goes on, we might get something forming. It just really depends on how today plays out. Today is sort of the first day of the trading week for this week, because Monday was a US bank holiday. And US bank holidays tend to kind of be, for me anyway, no trading days. So this is sort of the first day of the week for me. It's a bit of a shorter week than normal. So you don't often get stuff happening on the first day of the week. I mean, generally speaking, the first day of the week is a bit slow, so I'm not surprised that this morning is a bit slow. But yeah, other than that, I'm just going to keep monitoring and keep watching, and I'm guessing something will form in the next day or two. It usually takes a few days for good price action reversals to form. It takes some time. They don't just happen straight away, because you need preceding trends to form and you need price to head into support resistance areas. And right now it seems to be in between a lot of support resistance areas or on top of support resistance areas with not very strong preceding trends. So as price looks now, there's not much opportunity for reversals, but that could change in the next few hours or even the next few days. So I hope you enjoyed the analysis. I hope you learned something. I'm sorry it wasn't the most exciting analysis and that I couldn't spot any potential trade setups, but check out the analysis tomorrow and that might change. See you guys later.